Hey there, you chewers. Welcome back to my channel. What I have here in my hand is an estimate. So the estimate they gave me was for $1,269, and both the estimates were pretty comparable. So I had two shops that told me that I needed these, and their estimates were right in line with each other. And I tried a new place that I haven't tried before called Rock Auto, and I was able to find them for $225 for the two of them. So two for the price of one, and these are all the same brand. They were all Monroe shocks or whatever, so I'm not kind of going with like a cheaper name brand versus another. They were all Monroe shocks with the same part number. So there were other videos out there of people doing the same job. So why watch mine? Well, because I am a do-it-yourselfer. I'm not a guy that has a lift that has air compressor tools, and I don't have a whole lot of experience. I've done coil over struts one time before in my life. It was about 8 years ago. The purpose of this video is threefold. Is A, how much money am I going to save by doing this job myself? If things work out how I think, it's going to save me $1,000. The other two things is A, how long is it going to take? Because time is money. Do you want to really give up your whole weekend tackling a job that just takes forever to do, that's just worth paying someone else to do it? And lastly is, are you capable of doing it? So we're going to try to do this. I'm going to time it, and at the end of it, we're going to be able to evaluate is it something you think you can do? Is it worth doing it? And how much money can you save? How long will it take? So let's get to it. I'm going to turn off the air suspension system in the back. I'm going to pop the hood while the car is still on the ground. And I'm also going to remove both tires hubcaps, and I'm going to crack the lugs just to loosen them just a little bit, not to take them off fully. So the tough question sometimes is to ask yourself, where do I even start? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from up top. There's 3 bolts on each of the quick struts, and they're, I think, 15 millimeters, somewhere around there. I'm going to start from the top, because before it's jacked up, if I'm going to reach them from the top, it's going to be easiest to probably reach them while the car's on the ground. On the passenger side, all 3 are very easy to reach. So I'm going to remove the one that's rusted completely, and the one that's kind of at the 4 o'clock position, and then the one that is at maybe like the 8 o'clock position in this video, I'm going to loosen that one, but not take it completely off, but I'll take the other 2 completely off. And again, this is a passenger side. This is working from up top. I'll be using a regular ratchet, long extension, medium extension, universal tip with a 15 millimeter socket on the top, and I don't even know if I'd need the universal or swivel joint on this. I think they all look pretty reachable, but might as well make it a little bit easier. On the driver's side, the far one that's like normally like 12 o'clock, very easy to get to. Then if you come over this side, there's one at kind of like the 4 o'clock position. That one's easy to get to. Doesn't look very easy. Well, it's not impossible from up top to get to the one at the, say, like 9 o'clock position. It looks like I should be able to reach it with a shorter extension maybe. If not, that might be one that I get from underneath. I actually can reach that third one pretty easy with the swivel. So in jacking up the car, you can see on the frame there's an arrow. The arrow showing where the jack point is. With the tires off, it's a good time to check your brakes to see how your pads are doing and everything. So this bolt right here is a very large bolt, and the backside nut is even bigger. So before I even kind of tackle anything, I'm going to make sure I have the right size sockets for these. So what I did is I used a breaker bar on this side, a long breaker bar, with a 1 1/16 socket, and on the back side I used actually a breaker bar, but I didn't have it set for anything. I just had it used it as a ratchet with an extension, and that is a 1 3/16 socket, and I just used that to hold the nut on, and I put all the pressure on this side, lifting it up. I felt like I was almost going to lift up the whole car, but I did get it to loosen, so we're good to go. Well, now I also have to take off and remove these brackets right here that hold on ABS and vacuum sensors. I'm going to unplug the strength. So all these cords right here is anything that's attaching to any of these lines, the brake lines and the ABS sensor and the vacuum line, is going to disconnect anywhere where they're connected, so they're not going to get stretched. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, not necessarily in this order, but I am going to take off this nut, and I'm going to split this ball joint here with a ball joint fork. I'm going to remove this cap, and under here there's a 13 millimeter nut that I'm going to take off, and I believe these are 13 millimeter as well. They could be 11, I can't remember, but these are for the calipers. I'm going to remove the caliper, and then I'm going to set the caliper on a bucket, and then I'm going to remove this right here, and then also the sway bar. When you go to take off the 13 millimeter axle nut, the rotor is going to want to spin, so just stick a pry bar in there like that. It'll stop it from spinning. Also, you have a vacuum line that goes to these two posts right there. You're just going to unplug that real quick, and then all these you just disconnect, take all the tension out of the line that you can. So when the upper ball joint is loosened and tapped, the bolt out, I should be able to lift up the top there and just pull this one right out and replace it. So I pulled the old one out, put the new one down the slot here, and I just put the nuts on the top. I didn't tighten them, I just put them on there to keep them from falling down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a jack, I'm going to put it under the little control arm here, and raise it up to put the bolt through, and get some of these other parts back together. I'm going to be using a thread lock on all the threads and all the nuts that I'm putting back together, and really crank these bolts down. Some of these are supposed to be on here like 300 foot-pounds, 400 foot-pounds. When everything's back on, I take a floor jack and I stick it under the lower control arm and I jack it up. And I'd probably say from the time I kind of make connection with it, I probably give it about like 9 jacks. So it raises it up probably around like 3 or 4 inches to simulate being under load. And then that's when I tighten down the lower strut bolts there. And when I say tighten them as tight as you can get them, I mean with a breaker bar, I mean tight as you can get them. Put the wheel back on and we'll lower it. The truck is all back together. Passenger side only took me 1 hour and 20 minutes. Saved about $1,000. Gave up, call it 4 hours, 5 hours. I'm gonna give this one a thumbs up. It's more difficult. It's not a beginner job, but this is something, if you've watched some of my other videos, if you've done brakes and stuff before, this is a nice little segue to your bigger jobs. If you like the video, give a thumbs up, comment below how things went for you, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. So thanks for watching.